There's a lot to talk about today. And
Yes,
I
there
would
is.
like to preface this by saying I've been hearing from people that I call normies, I guess, people who are not very politically engaged, and they haven't been, I don't know, they're not very tribal, left or right. They're not really plugged into the propaganda, legacy media, but they also don't search out alternative media, and they don't watch, people on YouTube. So they're just sort of not engaged in the way that the powers that be want us to be, I guess. And a lot of those people have started contacting me because they're noticing the world is in some sense. What I would say is that we're in some sort of acceleration period right now. I don't know how long it's going to last, but things are ramping up really fast right now. And so those people have noticed that. And some of them have had brushes with the social media purge that's happening. Like one of them, the friend of her father, had his Facebook group pulled for veterans. It's just like random normies who are getting touched by it. My church was touched by it. They have limited my church's ability to advertise at all on Facebook, and they didn't tell them why.
That's surprising. They didn't say why.
Just like on Twitter, they don't feel like they need to give you a reason. They've just indefinitely suspended my church's ability to promote their videos and stuff. And they just said, you violated the community standard. It's vague. Just like with us, you violated the standards. Okay, well, what,
Right.
How? Give us point to where. And
Right.
They don't respond. So
they did the same thing to Ron Paul, by the way, which is unconscionable.
They took Ron Paul down. So people are starting to notice this. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm, I guess, one of those people who, the friends in my life who know that I am engaged in some way, they're asking me what's going on. So I'm getting phone calls and texts and emails and stuff from people who want to know what's happening. Why is this happening? Do I have to prepare for some kind of civil war? Like, what's going on? And what's, trying to make sense of things. And in this time of uncertainty, what's happened is, so legacy media has been lying to us forever. Like forever. I mean, they sold us the Iraq War under George W. Bush. They just lie to us. Noam Chomsky
sold us Potemkin villages in the 30s.
Yeah. Noam Chomsky, who, go back to, remember when the New York Times was claiming that people were not dying in Soviet Russia?
Walter Duranty.
Walter Duranty, and that, it wasn't, and they got a Pulitzer Prize for lying about what was happening in the Soviet Union. I mean, the legacy media, as Noam Chomsky says, is designed to manufacture consent from the public. It is propaganda. And Noam Chomsky is on the left. He's as progressive as they come, and he's someone who talks about this. But this is what they're doing. I will say, during this period of acceleration, they've really ramped it up to the point where when I'm looking
they're brazen now.
They are brazen. And I've been watching some clips that people have sent me from CNN. I've been reading pieces that are coming out in the legacy media and New York Times and Washington Post and Daily Beast and stuff. And the level of just brazen lying is off the chain now. And it makes people feel, normal people are like, am I going crazy? It's gaslighting. It's the actual definition of gaslighting, which social justice people misuse all the time. Like, they use that word. If you disagree with them, they'll say, stop gaslighting me. It's like, no, this is what disagreement is like. I know you're not used to talking to people who disagree. This is disagreement. But gaslighting actually means something. And it means trying to convince a person that they're crazy and that they can't trust reality, and that what's real is false and what's false is real. And that's what the media is doing to all of us right now. And so there are people, I think, just based on the kind of messages I'm getting from people who don't understand what's going on, are questioning their own sanity and saying, is it me? Is it the media? Like it's a very interesting time right now. And it's almost like so overwhelming. I don't even know where to start. That's why when I was thinking about Covfefe today, Carter, I was thinking there's so much and there's so many examples because they've ramped it up and we've accelerated. It's almost, do we talk about this CNN clip? Do we talk about this article? I mean, there's just so much happening.
There's a lot. And by the way, even I've been out of, I was never deep in the entertainment industry like you are, but I was in the music industry for a while, and which is where I met you actually, or doing a little bit of stuff there. And even the other day, I got a text out of the blue from a dude that I haven't talked to in who knows how long. That was like, I just watched a recent episode of Unsafe Space. Are you available to chat? Like, he wants to talk. And I'm like,
it's
like if I said his name, he would probably lose every job that he ever, he would lose all the gigs that he has, and he would be banned forever. But yeah, I mean, it is, I think normie, he's what I would call someone he's not even a normie. He's someone who's kind of plugged into the left, the kind of liberal left leaning, party culture of entertainment. I don't consider that normie. He's not raising 2.5 kids in Ohio he's not a dentist. That's kind of a normie to me, is someone just, with a job and
going about their life.
This guy's a little bit more immersed in the entertainment industry and has been his entire career. And even he was like, oh, something's going on here. And
so there's a video clip. I guess we don't have to play it, but for an example, there's a video clip from CNN with an exchange between Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo, two of the dumbest propaganda mouthpieces, I think, in history. And the two of them are sitting there talking about how, and saying that with a straight face, saying that anyone who voted for Trump supports white supremacy.
Send me that clip?
No, but that's coming from our news. That's coming from our news. It's insane. That's insanity. And then you hear it get filtered down to the people who are plugged into that matrix and who swallow it, all that BS, and just regurgitate it. And they're speaking it now, just like mindless drones. And I don't.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you've also seen, there's just, I don't know. I think the other thing that normies maybe don't generally pay attention to stuff, which is fine. I don't think you normally need to. But the COVID stuff, they kind of pay attention because it's bothering them. They have got to wear a mask, or they can't go out, or they can't open their business. So I think a lot of people are realizing the double standards. You saw not only Cuomo, but I think didn't also Gretchen or someone say something like, well, we have to balance COVID with the economy. We can't stay closed forever, blah, blah, blah. It's like,
this is
where were you when Trump said that exact same thing?
Yes. Okay. This is one of the biggest things I want to talk about today, Carter.
Okay.
This, if you will allow me. Okay.
Rant away.
Here's the timing on. I sent you a Newsweek article. Let's pull that up. The timing on this. We're starting to see people who are part of the cathedral, whether they're politicians who are on the left, like Cuomo, and these other governors, these other politicians who pushed for authoritarian measures like lockdowns and mask mandates, are now all starting to question them. And at the same time, you're going to see the media do the same because they're part of the cathedral. The cathedral's they're all going to start to question at the same time. They got their election. They got the person in they wanted. And now they're going to start to change the narrative.
Yeah. By the way, Signal's down this morning.
Oh, I texted it to you on actual.
I don't have text on my computer. So
okay.
Put it in Discord, and I will find it in Discord.
But they're going to start to change the narrative, and they're going to start to pretend like we've just discovered that lockdowns may not be working, and they're going to ease things back. But first, I still think, like I predicted this earlier, and I still think they're going to do something federal first. They have to have Biden do something that's like a federal authoritarian measure, whether it's a lockdown or a mask mandate, they have to do that first. So then they can claim, because they need to be able to say, he did this thing that Trump couldn't do. They have to build that into the narrative, in my opinion.
But no, I totally have been agreeing with that opinion. And like I stated that as well. I'm starting to question my own judgment on that, because I'm starting to wonder if they're so brazen and they think they've won so much at this point that they don't even bother. They might not even bother to have something to point to justify it. Be like, oh, the mere existence of Biden's election made COVID go. like, I mean, they're that brazen that I'm like, I used to think, well, they're going to make him do something and then they're going to point to that thing. Now I'm not sure. Now I think they just might be like, COVID? What COVID? Never heard of that.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's gone now. Yeah, Biden's in there. It's gone now. We can stop all this stuff we've been doing to you for a year, right, that we have been doing to you guys. We can stop it now. Right. Okay, I'm putting it in the general on Discord. Here you go. So as part of that, I just sent you a Newsweek article. There's a new study out. There's a new study out of Stanford, international study, where they looked at lockdown country.
I'm just looking at the title. Sorry.
Yeah, pull it up.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay, so they looked at countries with these authoritarian lockdowns, government enforced lockdowns, and they looked at countries without them. And this new study says, this is the headline on Newsweek. Okay, I'm reading something from the cathedral, guys. I'm reading you something from legacy media, so they can't commit genetic fallacy and say, oh, it's from a right-wing site. COVID lockdowns have no clear benefit versus other voluntary measures, international study shows.
I'm sorry. I can only laugh because otherwise I would rampage. I don't know.
I'm rampaging today. Let's rampage, because I came into this like, I don't know how I'm going to hold back my ire.
Well, by the way, I'm going to show you something here while we're here.
Yeah.
You know that it's the 1-year anniversary of when the WHO said there's no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. That was a year ago. So
yeah, that's when they were first pretending that Trump was a racist for talking about coronavirus and for banning travel from China. Remember that? They used that. They put that out. That was their first tactic, was to attack Trump and anybody back in January who was talking about COVID, like you, Carter. They called them all right-wing conspiracy theorists. They put out, the whole cathedral put out article after article after article. You can still find these articles with the headlines that were like, look, COVID's not even as bad as the flu, guys. They're like, go to Chinatown, go to the parades. Nancy Pelosi's like, come on down to the parades, guys. Trump is a racist. Yeah, Trump's a racist for even talking about this virus. Who was it? Was it Cuomo or de Blasio? It was de Blasio in New York who said, go out, see a movie, New Yorkers. Don't do anything differently. Fauci was like, don't wear a mask. There's no reason for Americans to change what they're doing personally, voluntarily. There's no reason for them to change what they're doing voluntarily. And so then what happens? Then they realize, well, COVID's a little worse than we thought. They changed tactics. They went from criticizing Trump for doing too much to then saying he's not doing enough. And by the way, you guys aren't doing enough voluntarily because we told you not to. So now we have to enforce government control over what you can do. And we have to tell you, you can't go to work and you have to shut your small business down and lose it. Do you know how many small businesses have closed during this year? You're going to lose it, possibly lose it. And that happened. That became a reality for a lot of people. We're going to tell you, you can't provide for your family, and we're going to shame you. And if you oppose this authoritarianism, and you oppose the government telling you, thinking the government has a right to tell you that you can't work. If you oppose that, we're going to say you're selfish. We're going to say you don't trust science. And we're going to say that you want to kill people and that you don't care about people. And meanwhile, this is why I'm on the rant today, because meanwhile, there were those of us back then, but those of us in March, almost a year ago now, who were saying, I don't have a problem with people choosing personal responsibility, choosing whether or not they go outside, whether or not they go to work, whether or not they open their business, fine. Whether or not they wear a mask, fine. But I'm against the government doing that, because that is authoritarianism. I'm against the government telling people they can't make a living and provide for their families and for their future and pay their mortgage and pay their rent. I'm against that. And we were told we were awful people Well, look at this study that just came out. It's from Stanford, guys. It's in Newsweek, guys. So here's what pisses me off. They hold us to a different standard than they had, and this is true. This is what radicals do. It's Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. They hold you to a different standard than they abide by. They called us awful people when we dared to suggest that maybe we're going to make all of this worse, all of COVID worse, by ruining the economy, which ruins people's lives, by increasing the suicide rate, by increasing domestic violence, increasing addiction rates, increasing homelessness. All these things we're going to contribute to, putting small businesses out of business and funneling this wealth transfer to all these major corporations. And then, by the way, taking our tax money to bail the corporations out when they don't. Most of them have. COVID's been great for Amazon. COVID's been great for a lot of them, but we still need to bail out the others. We need to bail out the airlines, right? With our money after they've told us we can't go to work for a year. Those people who supported this, and it was a lot of people, and and some of them still do. Those people, in my opinion, I got in trouble for saying this earlier, but I don't care. It's what I think, and I'm going to say what I think. You are sheep. You are sheep. You
that's
are.
All you said?
No, that's all I said, and people got upset.
Nice and mild.
But you are sheep. You are the sheep and animal farm, and I can guarantee you haven't read it, or you haven't read it in a long time. It's a short book. Pick it up one day. You are the sheep and animal farm who get taken out behind the barn and taught a new mantra by Squealer the pig, and you go out and repeat it. Wear a mask, save lives. Stay home, save lives. You call us names. You pretend to have the moral and intellectual high ground. Some of you are the dumbest people I've ever met in my life, but you think you're smart. Being dumb wouldn't be a problem, except that you have arrogance with it, and you have the gall to lecture us and to pretend like you're smarter than us and you're more moral than us. And then when we turn around and say, guess what? You don't look at science. You never looked at science. You're not going to look at this article either. You are not the people who support science. You treat science like a religion. You don't believe in science. You also pretend to be the people that care about people. You support authoritarianism because you care about people. No, you don't. You don't care about people. You don't. And you, I'm sorry. I'm just a bit. You have the gall to, when we point that out, when we say, you guys, the same people, the same sheep who, you're the 75% of people in those Asch conformity experiments. You're those 75% of people who will lie and will deny reality and who will deny what's actually happening around you, as long as your social circle's doing it. Because you're such a weak person. You're weak mentally, you're weak morally, you're weak in character. You have to go with the crowd. You have to virtue signal and show people that you're so smart and moral and you're going along with what everyone else is doing. You're those 75% of people who conform. I know exactly who you would have been in Nazi Germany. You would have been the good Germans. And you have the gall to call us Nazis for saying, hey, you should be able to do what you want and I should be able to do what I want. You call us Nazis for being opposed to authoritarianism. You are the Nazis. You're disgusting. And when we point that out today, like when I pointed that out, I'm getting people saying, I don't think it's nice to call them sheep. And I don't think, because you're holding me to a different standard than you hold them to. Sheep is very mild, as you said, Carter. It's very mild, but it's the truth. And there are times at which it's important to use nuance and to try to have conversations with people. And as you know, I do not often, that I can think of, I can't even think of 5 times that I've called people names in one-on-one conversations. I don't believe in name calling. It ends a discussion. But when I'm talking about in general, you people who supported authoritarianism and who shoved it down our throats and told us we were murderers because we didn't, you disgusting people, you are sheep. There are times at which being blunt like that is more important to me than being precious with my language, because those sheep, you're not going to listen to me anyway. So you need to be morally, somebody needs to hold you to account. Somebody needs to shame you and say, look at what you did to this country. You're willing to let us destroy our country and to destroy your neighbor and to destroy your common man. Why? Because you're a weak person. That's what I think about this article. And that's what I think about you people who have been shoving this on us for a year. And anyway, thank you. That's the end of thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Sorry.